All right, let's put up 1 minute, all rules, all good rules, all decks, private game. Okay, say that, send up. We are playing Cliffy in the first round of the 1 minute tournament. This is going to be very chaotic, but should be pretty fun. Um, I'm going to be refreshing constantly because if I get first turn, I don't want to lose like 30 seconds on the first move. I think that would be bad. Um, what's there to say? I think there's very little time to look at multiple ideas. So what I want to try to do is have a clear idea in each position, I guess. And then with okay, what? Oh, I was thinking 2 minute game. How did they already lose 60 seconds? Okay, we don't have first turn, we have second turn. Let's take a second to scan both hands. What I notice in our hand is our best number to the right is an 8. God, this is so little time. We have fairly good numbers in the other directions. They have 8s to the left versus our 8s to the right. Maybe A837 can get some same walls, but it looks like they'll be able to play off us. Um, all right. Probably should have noticed they could go there. Do we have any setups against this move? Yes, we could play 8-7, 8-6 in 5. They don't seem to be set up well by that, so that's a strong candidate. Do we have any other setups? I don't see them. A837 sets up one way, 6698 sets up one way. All right, we have one good idea. It covers both sides. I think we just run with it. I already forgot what it is. It's 8-7, 8-6, and 5. Yeah, we're going to run with that. Um, that gives us good coverage of their starter. They only have one recapture and potentially, because they don't have 6. And if they go an 8 with 8965, we can play A837 in 7, and that's safe. Um, so hopefully this is pretty good pressure. We probably win their starter card at least. Um, Now, if we play the plus in 8, they have lots of ways to combo through our center card, so our card in 8 is kind of dead to us. So I think we actually want to play 6, not 8, if we get the choice. Yeah, I think we care a lot more about playing 6 than 8, which is odd because 8 is where they have a recapture. So they are picking up their card that has the recapture. They play 8 immediately. So do we want to go 6 or do we now want to go 7? We probably want to go 7 because that's safe. That makes 8 safe and it makes 9 safe, right? It's pretty simple math. So I think we want to go 7 here. I don't love my remaining cards, but I don't have enough time to figure it out, and hopefully those 3s mean we can avoid getting hit by any combos. So let's put some time pressure on them, play fairly quickly, and just play a move I'm pretty confident of. In a longer game, I think there's a good chance I'd go 7, but I would definitely spend a while looking at 6 first just to make sure I had the comparisons down. Because A837 is a really good card. As I mentioned, it can sweep their 8s, and specifically it can on the top, and that's what's left. So if we had played 737A and 6, it can be hard for them to attack it from 3. And maybe that would have been good pressure. I don't know. We should have said best of luck. So, all right, we sent that. They have pretty good up-down sweepers. Yeah, so they set up the T where maybe their up-down sweepers can murk us. Do we have any combo play against that? Probably not. We're up 6-4. Okay, we do have combo play from 6 through 5. That's going to need to be our win condition. So if we put something in 4 that is weak to 5, no, then they can play Tella in 6. I don't see anything better though. So I think I blew this one. Wait, no. It's A264. Okay. I didn't. Okay. But my idea is we're going to play Len in 6 to combo back through 5. But for a second, I thought Tella in 6 was a tie. But we can just go anywhere. As long as we don't play 6, 6, 9, 8, and 3. I can't count. Counting is hard. Ooh, 1 minute's intimidating. I think I was kind of lucky that I had a good response to the starter. This would have been a very different game. Um, I don't think 8 was good for him, but I also understand getting rid of the squares that are bad for you. I think that's good instinct. I think it might have just been a really unlucky position for him after 5. Though probably he should have gone in 1, 2, or 4, but it's tough to leave squares like that open. I don't know. Hard to figure out. Okay, he takes with Tella. And I guess the version I like most is Len in 3. 10, 15, 19. Yeah, we counted everything. There's no extra combos. I don't need to combo the card back. This is clean. Okay. A few. All right. This is gonna be a difficult tournament. You know players who just like feel like they just know the right move. I feel like I want to be one of those players for this tournament. Uh, but like it would be nice if to feel like you're one of those players. 3, 6. Say I was lucky to have a good reply to the starter. Like that. I mean, like I remember when Nimloth played like 5 games or 3 games, and one of them it was like the second one he played. It ended up in a tie. It was the only game where the solver said he had made any imperfect moves out of the 3 games. Um, and so, anyways, I mentioned after that there had been a win, and he just immediately said what the winning move was because he's obviously incredibly strong at the game, and he had just been like, well, there were 2 moves that made sense here. So if I learn I wasn't winning, there was only one spot where there was a second move that made sense, so it must be that move by process of elimination. Not exactly what he said, but pretty close. But he just knew, like, there are 2 moves that matter in this position. And um I feel like, yeah, I was trying to think about this format. Like, is it better to be a really quick calculator? Because it's such a hard format to calculate that if you can get any accurate calculations in, surely that should be a big advantage. Or is it a format where, like, your first instinct is favored? Where if your first instincts are really good, like, you think of a Demonic or a Sir Smokes, players that just have a really, really good feel for what matters in the position. And they tend to be very quick players because their big strength is this strong kind of intuition understanding. Do you want to be them? Or do you want to be like obviously Seto is an incredible understanding, but I'm going to use him as an example for something else, even though I think he might just be the best 1 minute player because he's good at both of these things. Um, do you want to be someone who just calculates really fast and really precisely? Um, which I believe Seto does. Um, like who do you want to be? Obviously, you want to be both. You want to be Seto. But he's not playing the tournament, so others of us have a better chance. Or Great Sephiroth. Great Sephiroth's a great example too. Um, if you watched Great Sephiroth playing 2 minute open back in the day, like I played a lot of 2 minute open random. These rules. I think back then I was very good at it. No idea where I'd be now. But I was not Great Sephiroth's equal. Great Sephiroth was the 2 minute open goat. Um, but I think of Great Sephiroth as a calculator, not an intuition guy. Obviously, like not bad intuition, but I think the great strength of his was very fast calculation. Now, obviously, you can't do them entirely separately. If I can calculate any line to the end quickly, but pick all the wrong lines to calculate, not useful. Um, but if I can identify the important moves and calculate them, that seems ideal. Yeah. All right. Any lessons we can learn moving forward to the next round? Because I'm playing Turds in the next round, and Turds is both obviously one of the 2 hottest players on the site, along with Delial. as well as active, which is an unfair competitive advantage, and yeah, really sharp. And is more experienced at 1 minute. Though we have watched a bit, though mostly it was turds playing Deli. Though once it was Deli playing Akiyama, and I've now played one game of this. Because, okay, so practically, what can you do in 60 seconds? You can say, I'm going to throw a wide net. I'm going to try to come up with candidate moves, a wide range of candidate moves, and see what works best. You can go, what is the logical thing I need to respond to, and find a move that does that. And because you have to work out the logic of, here is what this position is calling for, what is my move that best does that, you are relying heavily on your understanding of the game, right? If your understanding leads you at all astray, you're going to get in serious trouble. Or if it leads you somewhere where you don't have any cards that fit that option. And it's going to take some time to do so. But if you can find one sensible move that way, you have already narrowed down the options really well. And I think that is a really useful thing to have done. And that was a bit what I was trying for here, is try to have one decent idea and trust that, like, my understanding is good enough that would work, and then hopefully switching with 3 or 4 moves left into something like pure calculation, though I didn't do so here. But that's more first turn. Like, on move 7, should still be able to just calculate perfectly and make sure I don't make any errors there. And that's some competitive edge if I can do that reliably, probably, depending on who you're facing. Um, yeah, do you throw a wide net or a narrow net? And also, do you start with logic or do you start with moves? Do you go, here is a move that jumps out at me, and try to learn from that? I don't know if you have time to do that. I think you want to start with some logical sense of the position. So I think my thinking process is going to be something like, at the start of a game, figure out directional strengths and weaknesses, and just if there's any numbers that seem like there's really punished. That's something that was clear in the last Deli Turds game with games with Deli starters. Is he identified, hey, they have a lot of this number in that direction. How can I set up to punish that? And kind of figuring out what direction you want to give the game. So thinking early with an eye to directionality. And then having that framework be an initial sort of logic to lead you to the kind of standard moves you want to make and the structures you're more comfortable with. Like, if there's cards in 2 and 4, something like that, it's possible the best move is in 6 or 8, but I'm not comfortable with those structures, right? I'm not comfortable with that kind of position. I don't have much experience there. Um, and I can't trust calculation to carry me, and I can't trust my intuition to be that good in unfamiliar positions. So try to veer it into familiarity. I think that's one thing, right? Play to your comfort. You're not, it's sort of the thing of like, practice is where you get better, and playing is where you see how good you are. Like, I'm not going to discover things in 1 minute that aren't already somewhere part of my general sense of the game, and I shouldn't try to. In longer games, you can, because you have the time to try to figure it out, and that's in fact a really good way to explore things and learn things. Um, and if I was just playing a ton of casual 1 minute, that might be a good way to get in a lot of experience in various structures. Um, and you might say, I've played how many games on the main account? 11,000. I should have experience in a lot of structures, but we all know that there are some things that are much more familiar than others. So stay comfortable. Try to do things that fit my logic. I'm just concluding play like me, aren't I? But maybe that is the conclusion in 1 minute. And the real then question is just time expenditure. What do you have time to do in a minute? Do you ever start a lengthy calculation or not? Right? Do you have the room to do that? I don't know. Probably not. But maybe if you can see a narrow line that looks promising, you go for it. I guess the other thing is there's a bit of advice in Jakob Agard, who's a chess top tier chess writer and coach, which is you don't need to calculate this is winning for me or this is better for me or this is worse for me. When you're comparing two ideas, and we do not have time for more than two ideas, so the most we're ever comparing is two ideas. All you have to compare is the trajectory. If one feels like it's pretty similar to your starting position and one feels like it's getting a little better, you don't need to know that that one's winning or that one's tied or anything like that. You just pick the one with better trajectory. Choosing between options sometimes is really difficult because sometimes it's, well, this one's chaotic and this one isn't. And Triple Triad is a very concrete game where, like, if you find the right touch at the end, it may be a forced win or a forced tie, and the general feeling of the variation is not sufficient in longer games to judge moves correctly. But in 1 minute, this feels like the game is going in the right direction. That's probably enough to hang your hat on. I guess the one last thing I'll do is I just want to check if I missed anything. Obviously, this ended up being like a fairly straightforward game, right? So this was not like I was lucky to have a good setup against the starter, and from there the moves were from my side fairly straightforward. But I do want to see if I missed anything because I very easily might have. And if I did, that might be good to know. Is that fair to check? Is that an unfair advantage mid-tournament? Yeah, probably is. Okay. Probably is. Okay. Because we're playing the same, like, rule set the whole way, and I know it's not a hand rule set, but if I don't have to work out where I made mistakes and other people do, if they want to try to think about what they're doing. Yeah. Alright, I finished typing in the cards, but I guess mostly because it crashes if you don't type in all 5 cards next time I, like, go to look at it. But yeah, I guess it's probably right to not check until the end. Is it? I always check in other stuff. No one's ever complained. All right, let's look. I don't know why I got fussed about this again. Or for the, Okay, so they start in 9. I played in 5. I thought I had a pretty comfortable position because I thought basically I win their starting card. The solver doesn't think it's so scary for them. They went in 8. We have one winning move. It was the move in 7. Okay, he went in 2. And most of my moves win. I went in 4. And it is one of the wins. Okay. Solver doesn't dislike the starter by any means. That's kind of interesting, actually. Right? The solver, like, okay, so obviously it's a safe starter, so any move that doesn't interact with it in some way, it's probably going to be pretty good against. But it's interesting that after my move in 5, it thought about half his moves were tying, which is usually not so bad. Maybe a harder position for humans to play than the solver, because I certainly thought I had a pretty big advantage there, which the solver doesn't seem sold on. Okay, interesting. No mistakes game 1. Hopefully we make no mistakes against turds.